So welcome to KB Nutrition, and this is a talk, just something brief I'm going to talk about herbal teas and why I like to infuse my own teas and know what's actually been put into them. And there are some great places now that you can buy loose leaf teas, and I've got some here which I'll show you. I'm going to concentrate on dandelion today because dandelion's very good for your liver. And I've got a few different sorts of dandelion. Here I have the dandelion flower. And dandelion literally is those beautiful little yellow dandelions that you see growing in the grass. And then they have also those white, they used to be called fairies when I was growing up, and you'd pick them and you'd blow them and they would scatter. And that's literally what it looks like. And this is the dried dandelion flower. So I've bought it in 3 separate parts, which I'm going to show you. And I buy this in bulk, and then I make my own herbal infused tea. The next one I've got here is the actual leaf. So this is dandelion leaf. And I like to use all 3 in the tea. That's because they're using every part of the plant. They use the leaf, the flower, and lastly, the root, so dandelion root. And there are a number of ways. We can also buy dandelion root tea bags, which this is a brand you can buy in the supermarket, and they are really delicious as well. Something that's really good as opposed to having regular cup of tea. And they're caffeine free, gluten free, lactose free, and 100% natural. So this is following on from what we were talking about last week, which someone pointed out to me that not all those products coffee and alternatives I talked about were gluten-free. This is one that is, and that's something really nice to have. And you can have that with soy milk and honey or real milk and honey. But I love making my own, and this is the dandelion root. I'll just show you that a bit more. So you can see that a bit more easily. And I mix those 3 together, and I've got this great pot that's called a tea infuser. And all I've done today is I've put my dandelion flower, my dandelion root, and my dandelion leaf. But I want it to have a more rich flavour and also to be more medicinal, especially in this time of where we're trying to build our immunity. So not only do I want it to be a liver tonic, but I also want to build my immunity with ginger and fresh lemon. And lemon with the skin on is a beautiful thing to put with your herbal tea, because all those beautiful medicinal properties in the lemon skin are actually, it's the lemon oil that we get. And I also use lemon with the skin on whenever I make fresh juices. And what we do, so I've cut up strips of that. I've put my flour, I've put some dandelion root. I'll put it in now. And dandelion root. I'm just going to put a teaspoon. I've put a teaspoon of the flour and a teaspoon of the leaf. And I'm then not going to use boiling hot water because that then scalds the medicinal properties of the tea. So I've let it let it cool down. I boiled the kettle and I've let it cool to sort of room temperature. Now, so I've got the ginger, those 3 sorts of dandelion. Something else that's beautiful to put in tea is cinnamon bark. And here, that's literally the bark of the cinnamon. And you can buy that in bulk. And just the smell of it's incredible. It gives a really sweet flavour. So I can also put one of those cinnamon barks in there. And then all I do is I put that together. And then I put that in my infuser. And I'm going to fill that with some hot water. Well, it's not boiling. You'll see there is steam coming off there. But I have let it sit for about 5 minutes. And then I just fill up my tea jug, and that's why these are brilliant, these tea infusers. And then I'll put that there in there, and I'll let it brew for 5 to 10 minutes. And as the day goes on, this is a great way of drinking water. So you're not just drinking plain water and feeling like, oh, it's boring. It's got beautiful flavour, but it's also medicinal. And you can keep topping that up. I often top that up at least 3 times. So you're not just using those teas and wasting them and throwing them away. You get a lot of purpose and a lot of use out of them. And why I like using and infusing my own tea as opposed to tea bags, I've just done one of my workshops online with the group, and I all of a sudden found all these tea bags in my cupboard because I wanted to talk to them about the things that we might add into our tea when we look at tea with flavour. And T2 is one of those companies that's really great about doing this, because this one, for instance, is ginger tea. And someone gave this to me as a present, and I'm going to show you what I mean. What it actually is you've got your black tea there, and you'll see those little white speckles, which here I've taken some out and isolated them. That is ginger, but here's where reading a label becomes really important. As opposed to adding my own ginger and my own cinnamon to create my beautiful own medicinal herbal tea that it's got beautiful flavour. In this one, reading a label just means, you know, we can concentrate on the nutrition panel, or we can just read the label, which is the ingredients. And that's what I look for, just the ingredients. And in this one, it goes down in descending order. So whatever's the highest proportion ingredient is listed first, and then it goes down in order of from the highest proportion ingredient to the least. And you'll notice with a lot of the products that we buy now in the supermarket, if you're reading the label, pretty much guaranteed the second or third ingredient's going to be sugar. So I always make sure that, one, I only want to buy a product with 2 or 3 ingredients maximum, and I also want to be avoiding the sugar, because they add sugar to everything because obviously it gives it flavour. And the one they're adding to our ginger tea is artificial flavour. And it can be argued that artificial flavour is being synthetic. It is derived from a natural source. But I always just like to check that, as opposed to ones like these teas here. This one that's, for instance, 3 licorice, which licorice is very good for digestion. This one's a detox tea. This one's got in it aniseed, fennel and cardamom. And if I read the label on this one, it is caffeine free. It's ethically sourced ingredients, and it's got aniseed, sweet fennel seed, cardamom pod, licorice root, coriander seed and celery seed, and they're all organic. And so I like to know what I'm actually buying. A lot of people talk about herbal teas and, you know, what are good ones, what are good brands to buy. So just knowing that sort of thing yourself. And then also here I bought some green tea the other day, and I know we were talking about green tea, and I haven't actually read this label. I bought it because my son wanted some green tea, and the brand we normally buy was not there. And I'm just saying, I don't even think they've got any. Oh yes, they'll have maybe ingredients here. No, they don't have the ingredients list. Maybe here. No, there's no ingredient list. So that's very interesting. So you'll find it's single origin green tea, ethical tea from Sri Lanka. I'm fairly sure it's not going to be organic. They do grow it in bulk, so I'd have to assume, oh yes, 100% pure Ceylon green tea. There it is in fine print on the bottom. So just to be aware of all those things when you are going and purchasing things. Herbal tea is a great way to have our water intake. It is included in our 8 recommended glasses every day, and just something to look out for. Yeah, instead of just your regular coffee and regular tea throughout the day. So thanks from KB Nutrition, and I'll see you again soon.